back to another episode of the Iron Pulse podcast. Today, Kyle and I are going to be discussing ways that you can get back into the gym after a long break. I think that both Kyle and I, we there are times we take, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 months off, maybe 6 months, but everybody's body needs a break at some point or another. So we're just going to talk a little bit about, why you need a break and what you could do to get back into the gym after your break. Because I think Kyle and I recently actually just had a decent break, I would say. Kyle, how long was your break from the gym?
I'm actually approaching 2.5 months.
Well, you're back in the gym now, right?
Yeah. So, at one point I was. Like, when we were out in Colorado, it had been about 2 months, and then came back and started to get back into it. But I don't know. I just, like you mentioned, like, sometimes people just need a break or kind of like a reset, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I think, depending on the type of person you ask, like, people who are very serious about lifting, right, like, they find ways to get past that mental block, or, like, they know that if they just continue going, they'll get back into it. Whereas someone like me, and I think Cammy probably had the same thought, it was like, why go do that and not have fun like we used to when we could be doing other things? And I think that now we're kind of realizing, like, it was really important part of our lives before we even started this company, and it was kind of something that just gave us, like, more of a routine day to day, and it was something that we kind of grew to know and love. And so whenever you lose that passion, it's really hard to get back into something, and sometimes having that longer break time period, it kind of helps you realize, what you missed about it and what you might want to get back to doing. And so, like, for me, after that long break I kind of took, I've started to go back to some of the older bodybuilding programs that I used to do back in college. So, like, I'm thinking about starting the squat every day that Corey Gregory had, just because that was something that was like, no matter what I do, I know I got to go squat. And it was actually a pretty interesting program. But right now I'm running one of Christian's programs, just doing the upper, lower, and that type of split, which has been good. Like, I think it's kind of nice to go in and have an actual set routine, because towards the end of when I would go to the gym, 2 months ago, I'd go in there, not really have a specific plan written down. I would just kind of do, like, one thing, and then I'd go do 2 sets of another thing, and then I'd go do, like, 3 sets of something else. So I think having, like, a certain program or any way that you can kind of track your progress, I think is really going to help you kind of get back into it and kind of give you that little, self-competition mode, competitive edge that you might have been missing. Because that was, something for me, like, I wasn't really competing against my own numbers anymore. I was just kind of going in to lift just to lift.
I think, too, like, our priorities changed, right? Like, a lot of people in their life, their priorities change. So you had mentioned, we were into it, like, pretty heavily up until we started the company. And since then, it's kind of been on and off. But that's just because, like, there's been a lot of new things that have entered and taken precedence over the gym. And for me, when I first started lifting, that was the best time ever. Like, I loved it so much. But I also, could do it in between classes in college, right? So, like, there was that whole side of things too. Like, I didn't really have anything to worry about except for go to class, and then in between classes, I didn't, I had nowhere to go. I didn't live on campus, and I didn't want to drive, 30 minutes back and 30 minutes back to school again. So back to home and then back to school again for another class. So in between classes, I would just lift, and then in between another class, I would just do cardio. That's the time that I had allowed me to do that. I became efficient with lifting. But since then, priorities have changed a little bit, and obviously starting this company, there's priority, right? And the priority is that we spend a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort to build Iron Pulse. So probably more time, money, and effort to build this company than we do, like, for a gym membership, right? So for us, we want to put the time and the energy and the effort that we have in the day towards Iron Pulse first and then the gym second. But the gym is still a very good mental escape, right? It's still a very good place to go and relieve stress. Although I feel like I'm just a ball of stress right now. It just adds to it. But, it has, I guess like I need to get better at managing my time at night. But again, because where I live, like in Denver, like all the gyms around me are just packed. So I do drive, 25 to sometimes 30 minutes, depending on traffic, outside of Denver to go to a gym. Just because like I love the superset stuff and I don't want to sit there and talk for an hour, right? I want to get in, do my stuff and then go home and sleep or answer emails, whatever the case may be. So, for a lot of people in their life, things are going to change, right? They're going to have kids. They're going to have new jobs. They're going to have maybe side hustles like we have, Kyle. There is going to be a change of pace and a change of precedence for where you want to allocate your time to. But if you are getting back into the gym, I think first and foremost, especially if you start training legs again, take it easy. Okay. Like if you've taken even like a week or two off, you come back and you just hammer a leg day, the first day after is going to suck, but the second day after is going to suck even worse. And trust me, dude, the first day is like, okay, it's bearable, but the second day you just don't want to move. It's the same thing if you start, if you do like deadlifts and stuff and your form's off and you really start to screw up your lower back, man, you'll feel it the first day, but that second day, like, oh, dude, it's horrible.
Right.
It's horrible. But yeah, take it easy. Don't overdo it. Get back into the routine. Just get back into the motion. Add a little bit of tension. You want to get back to that progressive overload, but you don't need to be hammering it out right away. Because if you come in thinking that you're going to be putting, like if you take a month off or 2 months or 3 months and you come back thinking that you're going to be lifting the same weight as you were before, you're going to be sadly mistaken real quick. That weight's going to humble you pretty fast.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing I've actually done this past week is I kind of went in and I just picked a weight that was maybe 20 to 25 pounds less than what I remembered doing. That way I could kind of just, make sure I have my form right. It feels okay. And I mean, even going, 20 to 30% less on weight, I was still sore, the last couple of days just because I'm getting back into doing the movements that I hadn't done for a few months. And so it's, it's never a bad idea to start with a lower weight and then kind of acclimate yourself again before you start, pushing for higher numbers or things like that.
Right. I think the first question that people need to ask themselves is why they stopped in the first place.
Yeah.
So like what led you to stop? Are you no longer having fun? Has it become more? Because like for me, one of the biggest things was like it became another job. So like I started lifting before because it was fun. And then and it took stress away. But then it became a job. The upkeep became unreal. And because Kyle and I were talking about this earlier this week, like I found some older videos that we had whenever we first started lifting. And my physique was a lot better than where it is right now. But like when you get to that point, it is a job, right? Like you have to make sure that everything is on point to keep that physique and then to continue to build that physique out. And when you're working all day and then, all night like we are right now, and then you go to the gym like at night or you go to the gym in the morning, like, and you feel like you don't get a break because everything is a job, then it can start to weigh on you even more. And then you're like, well, I can easily drop this job. Like it's not paying me anything. Like I don't really lose anything. So see ya. I'll see you in 3 weeks or 3 months. So you make sure that like you understand why you stopped in the first place. Find exercise that you enjoy. One thing that I'm going to preach right now, even though I'm not really like good at, but I am getting better at, is like, don't be too hard on yourself. Because if you need a break, you need a break mentally, physically, emotionally. Like Kyle knows, like I hate myself whenever I like do something. Like when I stop lifting, I'm like, dude, in my head, my mind is just, Cam, you need to get in there right now.
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You fat slob. Like, I mentally, like, I'm so hard on myself, and then it's not good. Right. And then usually what people do when that happens is they look for a quick fix. They look for that quick dopamine high. So they'll grab like ice cream or a late night snack or something to that extent that in the moment feels fantastic. But then a little bit later, they're like, oh, dude, now I feel 3 times worse than I just did 30 minutes ago.
Right.
But we're all like, it's relatable, right? Because I feel like we've all done it, or we all know somebody who has done it. Just don't go in there trying to overdo it. If you're going to spend 2 hours on the cardio machine to make up for another, like an extra 50 calories that you ate the day before, you're going to lose steam real quick. Okay. So get your nutrition back on track, have a purpose, right? Like, are you going to train for something? Are you planning on doing a show? Are you planning on doing a marathon? Are you planning on doing whatever the case is? Like, if you have a goal in mind, start training for it. Okay. Like, your goal that you want to accomplish, whether it's a show or whatever the case is, those goals should translate into the gym, because when you're in the gym, like, you are now not just doing it necessarily to pass time or to go in and be social for an hour and act like you did a lot because you stood next to a few machines. Use that goal of what you're training for to work harder in the gym. And to, do exercises that you enjoy.
Yep.
Especially for CrossFit people. I think CrossFit people do a good job because a lot of them love what they do. They love the CrossFit side of things. They love keeping their heart rate elevated and moving and speed. They love all that stuff. And they love going from like one exercise to the next, and then to the next, and to the next, and to the next, until they compete in an event, right? So, if that's something that you want to do, definitely go for it. Try it out. And you might just, once again, find the love for training in the gym.
Yeah.
But the biggest takeaway for that is find what you enjoy, right? Have a plan. Have a plan going into the gym. If you go into the gym and you're just like, yeah, I guess I'll do leg day today. You'll probably 9 times out of 10, you'll probably start by walking to the squat rack. Right. You'll do a few sets. You'll take up some time. People will stare at you because they want that squat rack. And then you'll try to figure out where you're going next. Like, you should know where you're going, what you're doing, how many sets you want to do. Have it planned out and written down before you enter the gym. I'm telling you, like, I'm sure Kyle can attest to this too. Like, it's a game changer for sure. If you know what you're going to do before you get into the gym, not only do you feel like you're more efficient, you feel like your workout's been more effective. And you, at least for me personally, like, I feel better about myself when I check off that list, right? But I make the list I make the list succinct enough to the point where I feel like I'm doing enough and I'm pushing myself enough, but not to the point where there's like too much stuff and I only check off like 90% of it. And then, because my mind would start to focus on that last 10% that I didn't do, right? And be like, oh, I didn't do this. I didn't train hard enough today. You can't really think like that, because each day you go to train, like, it's going to be different, right? Like, you're going to have a different attitude, different mindset, different energy levels. It's not going to be the same each day you go into the gym. Some days you train harder than others. Like, that's just facts. Okay. So you should push yourself while you can. Your limit more than I would, or more than Kyle would. So definitely have a schedule going in and know what you want to do. I think that basically would wrap up what I want to say for everybody, other than, maybe having some rest days. You still need your rest days. This is a good one too, actually. Let's talk about this one. I'm gonna keep this train rolling. Even if you take like 2 or 3 months off and you come back, your body still needs a rest. It still needs to rest and recover, and sleep is still important. So if you take 2-3 months off, you come back and you just go for like 5 months straight, not taking a day off, I'm telling you right now, like, your body is going to feel it. And this gets into, like, think about like people when they eat, the example I gave before, right? You eat like 100, you eat 50 or 100 calories the day before, and you feel like the next day you got to do an extra 10, 20, 30 minutes on the cardio machine. Well, this is just on a bigger scale for the gym. You take 2, 3, 4 months off, you come back and you think that you just need to work out every single day, hammering it for 1, 2, 3, 4 hours a day, multiple sessions for, 5, 6, 7 months. You can't overcompensate for what you did in the past. Okay, what's in the past is in the past. You have to be able to deal with what is currently in front of you in the present and shape the future. Okay, like I'm not trying to get I'm not over here rubbing gemstones, trying to read people's palm leaves or whatever. But you can't worry about the past. You have to worry about what's the present, what's in front of you, and then that in turn will help you plan for the future for what you want to train for. But yeah, that's all I really want to say about people getting back into the gym. Take it easy, find exercises you enjoy, don't be too hard on yourself, prep and plan. And don't overcompensate. And, above all, make sure that you're keeping your safety and the safety of other people around you at a high priority, because we don't need people getting injured. If you've been out for 3 months and then you get hurt when you've only been back for a week, you're going to be out for another 2 months or 3 months. So you definitely want to
be conservative with it.
Yeah. Take caution. So, well, we hope that you found value in our show today. And we hope that you are getting back into the gym and getting back into training. If you did find value, please feel free to share it with your friends. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen. You can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Pinterest at Official Iron Pulse. But don't worry, if you prefer email, if you prefer discounts for our launches, if you prefer just having it in with Kyle and I, you can subscribe to the Iron Pulse report by visiting shopironpulse.com. And remember, no matter what you do, be all in.